What I'm seeing a lot of lately is people talking about digital ID. That's going to make us safe. We're way safer if we got digital ID because nobody in the government would ever take advantage of digital ID and like debank us. And they probably would never use digital ID to take us off of social media. They probably would never use that against us. To that end, let's go to Cahill. Cahill is amazing. Now, of course, it was Smythe. Now it's Hill. But you got to go to Kay Smythe Hill to see her website.com. You see her on Newsmax. She's an incredible writer. She's a very, very smart lady from Wales. Kay, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. I'm like terrified for my homeland with all the digital ID because they would totally never use that to create social credit systems that could get you kicked out of your housing and let you die in irrelevant homelessness and things like that. They're totally not going full China.
Why would they ever push that in a Western civilization country? I don't understand why, because I think you just mentioned China as I was interrupting you. China does that, and they will stop you from being able to buy food if they want. They will stop you from traveling where you want to go because they can. Basically, it's just short of putting a microchip inside your body. So what is the sales pitch that those of us who believe in freedom and liberty are being told by our governments? You'll be way safer if you just do the digital ID. This is a slippery slope. What are they telling us about how this would benefit us?
So Britain has a huge immigration problem, and obviously they don't have any human leadership. They just have Keir Starmer, that sort of glorified lizard human person monster, who doesn't have any real normal feelings. And so the immigration problem is not being addressed in the UK as it is. I should say the illegal immigration problem is not being addressed in the UK as it has been out here in the States. And so we've got this sort of mass population of illegal immigrants back in the UK. And so Keir Starmer thinks that the way to stop them from getting jobs, to stop them from integrating into society, is to roll out digital ID as a way to sort of present checks and balances so that people in the UK who are from the UK or who have entered legally are able to work and the illegal immigrants won't be able to, and therefore they'll be easier to track down. Obviously, this is garbage vomit and no one's buying it because as one, I think it might even have been a BBC presenter, I'm not sure, said to Keir Starmer, all of the people hiring illegal immigrants don't care that they're illegal and they're not going to care about your digital ID. So it's not going to make a difference to the problem you're claiming to solve. This is clearly just authoritarian overreach. I think this is probably something they've been trying to do for a long time. Like the UK went to a pretty extreme place during COVID, trying to institute like vaccine passports. There was a lot of other things like that were sort of trying to be rolled out. And at the time, Britain, everyone was at home, so no one was going to deal with it. They were all sitting behind their phones being like, no, I am going to vote on this petition and say, we don't want this to become part of our sort of national process of living. So that's sort of what's happened in the past. What we're seeing now is Keir Starmer rolling out this idea, saying that this is going to be mandatory. And Joe, the scariest thing for me, talking to my fellow Britons, obviously I don't live in that dump anymore. I did very hard work and moved out to America legally a long time ago. But the scariest thing for me is the number of people my age who have sort of just accepted that this is going to happen. And so we're looking for ways out. And then there's the sort of boomer generation who don't care. They don't care that this is going to end the empire. They don't care that this is going to push truly talented people out of the UK to go and, probably, to be honest with you, work over here legally.
Right.
Why
don't they care, though? Why don't they care?
Britain is kind of full of a lot of apathy. You've got to understand that this is a nation where if you have an idea that falls outside of the norm, you're laughed at. You're not championed for pursuing that idea. Like when I told people I wanted to be a professional writer growing up, everyone laughed at me. And that's not a wild idea. That's not a crazy thing to pitch, but that got laughed at.
Let me ask you a very American question, because I think this is going to really bring your perspective. You'll see my perspective when I ask this question. How the bleep does a country that used to be an empire, that used to rule the world, how is it so wishy-washy now and apathetic? How is that possible that the once grand British Empire is now just a pushover for anybody? Like, this idiot can't stop illegals from coming in if he wants. He doesn't need a digital ID. Like the people, the old timers who are like, whatever, I don't care. How is that possible when once I know the British were some of the proudest people on the planet? What the hell happened?
Literally colonized the planet, brought the greatest education system to the
Right?
world, had the strongest monarchy, had the strongest currency. I mean, the list could go on. Like, we
What
have
happened?
modernization. So I think there's a lot of different things that happen, but the major thing that I think really shifted, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Joe, this is almost like my teeth feel itchy saying this, but I think when we moved away from the monarchy and towards a parliament run by wannabe monarchists, so like wannabe royals, we really lost all of our sense of leadership. And so right now we have Keir Starmer, who's a member of the Labour Party. He's very similar in many ways to former leaders of, his own party, absolutely, but also a lot of people who run what's known as the Tory party. That's like
Okay.
our former Conservative party.
Right.
Although Boris Johnson, who was the leader of the Tories, has come out against digital ID. Never thought I'd agree with that buffoon on anything, but here we are. But I think what we have is a leadership problem focused largely on men, barely any women, but they're all idiots, the women that go for it anyway. Liz Truss, come on. But it's a lot of men who have only gotten into leadership because they went to some kind of private school. We call it public school, but they went to some kind of private school where their mummy and daddy expected them to get very good grades. And then they'll go and work for some nice big company or a think tank. And then once they've gotten enough friends and they've been to enough of like their little social gathering parties where they, drink tea and, do all sorts of illicit drugs and Lord knows what else and join all of their little secret societies, then they'll slowly be invited into the ranks of this sort of, like wannabe royalist process that we have known as parliament and politics in the UK. And so once they, sort of make it up the ranks, then they become prime minister, because that's actually the only way to make mummy and daddy really happy, because they've spent a lot on their schooling and a lot on their suits over these years.
Wow.
And so once they become prime minister, they finally fulfill their life purpose. And then once that's done, they'll go away and join another one of those silly little think tanks, or they'll go be on the board of some company, and they can go and spend their summers hanging out somewhere in, the coastal Mediterranean, and not really actually have to worry about Britain anymore, because they were never actually British. They were only loyal to their bloodline and this inbred clan of losers who
Well, there's
run
no
that
nationalism
country.
then. I mean, like Tommy Robinson is a nationalist. He loves Great Britain and he's trying to save it, and he's having a really hard time doing it. I think that you love the idea of what that country was, but again, you left because, it's much better here. So if I'm hearing you right, the fall, and I don't want there to be a British Empire, don't get me wrong, I'm not asking for them to go colonize everything, but a once proud people have fallen because of weak men. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Essentially, yeah, that's the best way to put it. And it's not just weak men. It's this sort of institutionalization of class culture. And so, like, when I was growing up in the UK, we still had a lot of, like, I remember at least once a week we'd have some kind of Christian leader come into the school to speak to us and preach to us. That was public school,
Right.
State-run schools. So we didn't really have separation of church and state. And I was talking to a friend of mine who, I can't believe it, but the UK is actually going to be part of the green card lottery this year for the first time in, I think, maybe 30 years, because so few Britons have moved to the US in the last few years. I was chatting to a friend of mine who's absolutely going to apply, and he said, thank God that we grew up in a time where we still had Christianity in school. We still had Queen Elizabeth, who was pretty much like our Nelson Mandela, holding the place together. I mean, she didn't go through what Nelson Mandela went through by any means, but as a sort of archetype, a leader, a representative of our nation, she had so much power and cultural influence. It's sad that I've only kind of realized it like posthumously for her. And so this friend kind of said, he's done, he's out. He's like, he runs a special needs music class type thing. He's not going to ever be able to support his people like he wants to. He's never going to be able to make the money that he deserves for the work that he does. And yeah,
Is
Britain
Charles
just,
just weak? Is Charles weak? Was Mom that much stronger than
yeah.
Charles?
Oh my gosh, like it's like night and day. No one cares about Charles. Everyone thinks that Charles is part of that kind of Keir Starmer, Tony Blair, almost Boris Johnson, David Cameron. Like he's part of that same kind of like you're just an inbred little dweeb. Like no one likes you.
Yeah.
Ironically, everyone liked Harry up until he married Meghan,
But
and
everybody likes
like
Will, right?
William.
Everybody likes William, don't they?
Everyone likes William, but mostly because everyone likes Kate Middleton, which is understandable.
Really?
The
Okay.
woman's a gem. But
Man,
William
I see a lot of
definitely
his mother in William. So I'm thinking that he would be a stronger leader with a better backbone, but I don't know exactly how he would rule. At the end of the day, I'm sad about what I'm seeing because it's going to become a theocracy soon. And I mean sooner, like in my lifetime. It's going to become an Islamic theocracy in Great Britain, especially England itself, as every single city, with only 4 million, it might not even be 4 million. I forget what the percentage is. There's a very small percent of Muslims in England, but they have all the top positions in all the big cities and all the big areas. And they're going to do what they're going to do unless somebody says, hold on a second, our history matters. We love this nation. We are nationalists. You can coexist with us, but you can't take over the whole joint. Kay, I don't think anybody's going to stop that, to be honest with you. I see it happening every day.
No, everyone's too scared of being called a racist. But you got to understand, Joe, I might be slightly off on these numbers. So please, everyone, call me out in the comments if I am. But Britain arrested and charged like 12,000 people with free speech violations, most
Wow.
of those violations being against illegal immigrants who get priority for everything, whether it's housing, healthcare, whatever, that, you know, Britons pay for with their taxes. So 12,000 people, or more than 12,000 people, have been arrested and
That's
charged
crazy.
for posting comments about their feelings on this on Facebook. In comparison, Russia, I think it's like in the same time period, it was like 3,000 people for free speech violations. And I'm like, you're disgusting. I was on the phone with family the other day, Joe, and I don't even care about calling them out anymore because like they need it. Everyone who says stuff like this needs it. But I said to them, I was like, if fundamentalist Islam, I know I've said this on the show before, but if fundamentalist Islam was to start World War III today in Britain and Europe, they would win. Now, I do believe that the US would step in where they could, but Britain and Europe doesn't have the military to protect itself. I think they're completely staging like a false flag invasion with this whole like drone thing with Russia. I don't believe that's legitimate at all.
Okay.
But if fundamentalist Islam wanted to start blowing up every major city, attacking all of our energy centers, poisoning our water supplies, things like that, they'd be successful at it because the British people have laid down on their backs. They don't respect the military. All my military friends out there are the first people to say, like, illegal immigrants get more care than our veterans and even our existing troops. Like they get more care from the state, these illegal immigrants, than the people who are volunteering their lives to protect that nation.
Crazy.
So it's just pathetic. It's just embarrassing. It's pathetic.
Well, let me ask you something I should probably know. Yeah. I know that our laws are based in the Magna Carta, a very religious document, by the way, mentions God all the time. Our laws are also based on the Ten Commandments. They're based on what the Federalist Papers said. It's not a religious country, but we're based on Judeo-Christian values, and that's very deeply religious. I thought we got most of that from Great Britain. I thought, again, King George III was an idiot. He had to be Anglican. You couldn't complain about taxes on tea, blah, blah, whatever. He's an idiot. But I thought that the tenets of our society that are protected by that document, the Constitution, I thought we got them mainly from Great Britain. Did we not? Do you guys not have freedom of speech? I mean, you're here now, thank God. But do they not have freedom of speech? Do they not have the right to say it, what they feel about the government, bring redress if you're letting a bunch of illegal aliens in? Did we not base again, maybe I'm stupid, but I thought we based our society greatly on what we got from where we came from.
You did, but the founding fathers came in and fixed all of the issues. So they were like, I'm not going to pretend to be a constitutional scholar or even a historian
Is
at
there
this
a
point.
constitution in Great Britain? Is there an actual paper that's called the Constitution?
Do you know what? I've heard there is. Never been taught about it. And I moved out here
Stop it.
before I
And you,
needed
and
to
you like
really think
write
about it.
doctorate theses. I want people to understand how smart you are. You write doctoral theses. I mean, you're like you're an expert on many, many fields. You don't remember learning about some sort of a founding document in Great Britain?
No, we were mostly taught about the Great Fire of London, plague, Henry VIII. Oh, what was that guy that tried to blow up? Guy Fawkes, remember 5th of November.
Yes.
And then we talked about Queen Vic because she was great, in all fairness. She was fantastic. We need another monarch just like her. Or Elizabeth. They're both pretty fantastic.
Right.
No, we were never taught about our rights. We were taught about climate change and how that's going to kill us all. And then I got a degree in it and realized it wasn't real from my professors who were like, it's
Well,
not
there
really
you
that
go.
real, guys.
So you don't literally know what the founding freedoms are of the UK.
No, and like, I'm Welsh, so a lot of people I think
It's in the
think
UK.
that
I checked.
the UK, it is in the UK, but it's very much its own country. Like we
Okay.
have our own government, we have our own education system. When I think of the depths of we were talking about it before we came on air, like the Welsh language is, I mean, it could it's older than Latin because we were the only country that managed to actually fend off the Romans and they were forced to integrate with us instead of ruling us. It's kind of cool. We're all pagan barbarians, according to him, even though it was
Right.
a Welshman who brought Christianity to Britain. That's a whole other story. But no, we were never taught about those rights. We were never taught about same as out here. We were never taught about how taxes work, things
Right.
like that. But my husband came to me this weekend, showed me a video that I'd reposted on my Twitter feed of a judge in the UK or a magistrate or whatever it is, those ones that wear the ridiculous wigs.
Yes.
Sentencing this guy to 2 years in prison for a single Facebook comment. And he looked me dead in the
So
eye
sick.
and he said, I love you. We cannot go back to your homeland. It is not safe for you. You will be thrown in prison.
Oh, without a
It is
doubt.
that simple.
Because
And I love the man. He's
Arcade does
so
not
on the
hold
money.
back. Yes, Arcade says what she wants to say.
Yeah.
It is Kay Hill. Go and follow her, ksmythehill.com on the web. You can go to Kay Smythe over on all the social media, but her name is Kay Hill. You'll see her on Newsmax, and I want you to check out everything that she does. Kay, we're frankly out of time. That was a great bit of education. Between now and next week, or we talk in between, let me know what the founding document is in Great Britain, and if you were supposed to have these freedoms, but it sounds like the government can shut them off anytime they want. That's the main difference between us and Canada and Great Britain. You can't shut them off in our government, not unless it's like you can stop habeas corpus for a very short amount of time if you want to. But I would love to find out more about that. Can we do that next time?
Absolutely. And I need to do that for my own edification. So
Yes.
thank you, Joe.
You're amazing.
Right now.
All right, we got to go. You're the best. We're back after this. Stay here.